Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here so early. We are going to start at 4:30, so we still have 10 more minutes. Before we start, you can take advantage of this time to register in Edmodo if you haven't done so far, okay? So you have 10 minutes to go to Edmodo and register using our code, which is WAWP75. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here so early. We are going to start in about 3 minutes, but before we start, I want to invite you, everyone, to join us in Edmodo. You have to create a username and password, and then you have to join our class. The access code is right here, WAWP75. In Edmodo, you will find all the links to YouTube so you can see the previous workshops. You will see all the materials, and Annalise, which is our facilitator, will be posting some questions and discussions that you can answer. Also remember that if you want your certificates at the end of this workshop, you have to register in Edmodo and answer all the discussion questions that you will find there. If you go to the chat, Juan Carlos has just posted the instructions on how to join Edmodo, but it's very simple. You access edmodo.com, you sign in, and then you join a class, and you have to put our joining code, okay? Annalise is going to be addressing Edmodo later, but you still have around 2 minutes to complete it, okay? Thank you very much for being here so early.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to this third session of digital skills for English teachers. Today's topic is material design for virtual course creation. You remember that on Monday we saw principles of online teaching. On Tuesday we saw something about digital tools. Well, let's put it all together. And this time we're going to speak about virtual course creation and material design. So we welcome everybody to this third session. Welcome to those people watching us on YouTube and Zoom. On the screen, you can see the calendar for all the events. Today we have a live session. On Monday, we have another live session. On Tuesday, we have an asynchronous session via Edmodo. On August 5th, we have another live session, then followed by another asynchronous session. And finally, we have our last session on Friday, August 7th. So keep in mind that for the asynchronous sessions, for the asynchronous session, you don't need to join at any specific time. All you have to do is sign in Edmodo. We already sent you instructions via the chat room, but anyways, we're gonna be sending the same instructions a couple of more times, and using the code that appears on the screen. All this information is gonna be posted on the chat room of both Zoom and YouTube. Yeah. So that being said, let's welcome our presenter, Annalise. She's already here with us. So Annalise, thank you so much and welcome. The screen is all yours.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to be with you. This is our third workshop, and I'd like to welcome also the returning participants and those who are new. Perhaps we have some new participants. So I'd like to welcome both the returning and the new participants. I was just looking at my screen in the background there. It was kind of off kilter. In any case, I am really happy to be back with you, and I look forward to learning new things with you today and sharing new things. So I think we can get started. So I'm going to share my screen and hopefully you'll be able to see today's presentation. All right, here we go. Oh, I got to share my sound in case I am able. I have my clips downloaded too. So today we are at the third presentation, and this presentation is building on the other ones, but it's looking more at the
Sorry, we apologize. We're experiencing some technical issues, but we'll be with you soon.
Overview is if you were not with us on Monday or Wednesday, as Juan Carlos said, you can go into Edmodo and you can see the workshops, and I also downloaded the workshops. So today, a little information about me. This is the same information I keep posting. The only difference is this is a picture of me without my glasses. So I can't really see without them, but sometimes I take pictures without them. I'm sharing a little bit more information about me today. I did a English language specialist and a Fulbright project in Benin, West Africa in the summer of 18 and the summer of 19. I was scheduled to go back this summer to continue the Fulbright, but of course, because of COVID, we weren't able to do that. So I worked at the university with administrators on first year experience. And I also did a really exciting English language club summit that I enjoyed so much. So these are some things I've enjoyed doing. I wanted to share with you. The overview for the workshop today is the same as it's been. So today we are on Friday, the 31st of July, and we have online course creation. Next week, we're going to be talking about motivation, classroom management, and then the feedback and assessment in this online world. We have today focus on this course creation. We're going to look at some of the new teaching realities. I try to touch on this each time because I want to emphasize the context and the challenges that we are now facing developing online courses. Then we're going to look at some key concepts and some guiding principles for quality online course design, or really any course design, and then some specific tips for online course creation. Of course, we have to look at this idea that we are in this real big sea change. And my first quote here, mankind has been witnessing significant changes as a result of innovative online and offline technologies, and education is not immune to these changes. And the second one, there's a paradigm shift in teaching and learning. And it is our responsibility as teachers to understand so that we can have a better future and build better education systems for our students. So all of this online work that we're doing is in the context of this new reality. And this new reality is framed by COVID. So as I have been telling you in the past two workshops, the new reality has a lot of ripple effects. We as teachers are now online. We're teaching in this new way, and our lives are also impacted. So I have a clip to talk about some of the responses here that we are all seeing and feeling. This new reality today has been a hard one for me. I've been sharing about my stepmother, and I was looking at the 31st date. It's a date that I will remember. I usually will share these things with my students, so I'll share with you. She passed this morning. She's been ill from COVID for 4 weeks, and they did not think she would survive, and she passed. So we talk about realities in teaching, but we also talk about realities in our lives. And some of us have challenges because of this pandemic, and I want to acknowledge that the realities in teaching are challenging, but they're also personal realities. People without jobs, people who've had housing challenges. Perhaps in Panama, the context is different, but here that is our reality. So I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to take the video clip out of the PowerPoint and show it to you directly, I think that we won't have as many glitches. So give me one moment. We'll show it. Can you see my screen? If you can see my screen, let me know. Can you see the screen for the video?
Yes, thank you very much, but I think it's buffering a little bit. Why don't we give it like
Okay.
a second to load?
Okay.
It's
So,
coming up.
okay, so I'm sharing it not embedded in the slide, the Google slide. I'm sharing it out in YouTube. So hopefully we will have some success. These are people talking, students talking about the reality of this new way of learning and teaching.
Crisis. Emma, Alicia, and Benjamin Gerardo are all hard at work attending school remotely from their dining room table.
Right now we're on the Ancient Egypt kind of section. I'm working on English homework right now.
Mom Grace is forced to work from home as well, so she can keep an eye on her kids. This is a sign of the times as schools shut down around the country. Here in Seattle, the school district has ordered 23,500 students to stay home.
For the most part, people are trying to concentrate.
The kids are using the video conferencing tool Zoom, which allows instructors to teach multiple students at one time.
This is C sharp.
This is how 13-year-old Emma is attending choir. Practicing out loud is hitting a sour note with her siblings.
Okay, shut your mouth.
I'm watching the world's most boring video right now, and I need to be able to focus on it, and that's disrupting that.
27 times
Another issue,
27.
turns out 12-year-old Ben talks a lot when he does math.
346, I think.
Grade do these kids give their new remote school?
I would give it a B.
Okay,
Maybe
so that
a
was
B
just
plus.
a little clip here to talk about some of the challenges and the realities that loading. My Google Slide.
We're having some difficulties here. I think our speaker, Annalise, was kicked out of the conference, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, no, here it is. Okay, you have to unmute your microphone. Perfect. Thank you, Annalise.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you were able to see the clip, but basically, were you able to see some of it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the clip was talking about the new teaching realities. So I wanted to ask you as participants how these new realities are impacting you as an English language teacher. I'm interested in hearing from you if there's anything you'd like to share. I think many of our experiences are similar, so a few of you might want to share how these new realities of teaching online are affecting you. Anyone?
Thank you very much, Annalise. Well, before we continue, there's a lot of people who say that they're very sorry about your stepmom. And then let's see, time and places are different and time is a constraint. Let me see what our people in YouTube are saying. Okay, well, people on YouTube are not very communicative, but yeah, everyone's agreeing with time and place.
Okay, and I had a few ideas. I thought maybe would be thoughts you would say maybe limited resources, maybe the need for more teacher training, and also the idea of mentoring during the transition. So having experts who could mentor you. uncertainty about the future. I think that really comes into the idea of time and constraints. Having to quickly learn. For us at my college, for those teachers who had never taught online, they had 2 days of training, and they were astounded that that's all they had to move their face-to-face classes to online. So sometimes having to learn quickly is another challenge. So I want to talk now, we have challenges, but always in our minds, we keep in mind, like, what is it we need to do to be good English teachers, to have good English learners? So these are 6 principles of exemplary teaching for our English learners. And I think that whether we're online or face-to-face, as we transition, these are very important to keep in mind. So these really work in both situations. So know your learners, create conditions for language learning, have those high density, design high quality lessons. And then this one, adapt the delivery. And I circle this one because that's what we're doing now. We're adapting, and all of those things happen online as well as face-to-face. We'll be talking more about the assessing next week, specifically in that online world. I'd like to go on and also talk about when you're a really effective online teacher, you have specific attributes that you're looking at. So effective online instructors include personal, pedagogical, content, and technology aspects to create effective online instruction. So some of you might be kind of a visitor to this world or a novice. Maybe many of you are apprentices, and many could be insiders or masters. So I show you this because I want to also encourage an ongoing process. I think you can use Edmodo and you can use your TESOL organization to facilitate this ongoing process, a community of practice where the insiders and the masters are supporting and mentoring the visitors, the novices, and the apprentices. And I think that that kind of collaboration between teachers is really another key part to learning to be effective as in the online instruction world. So now I talk a little bit about something that we talked about last time. How do you prepare and what will you teach? So this idea of synchronous or asynchronous. And I asked you last time, many of you are doing a blended experience where you have some synchronous and some asynchronous. So just as a review here, the synchronous, the students are on their own. Often they're communicating with discussion forums or email, whereas the asynchronous, you have discussions and small group work in the Zoom. You have announcements and office hours in the Zoom. So the assignments can be done in the Zoom rooms. So it's important to look at what are you envisioning as you approach your course creation, your course design. Another thing to keep in mind is learning principles that are important for online course design. So think about what do the students bring in terms of prior knowledge that can help or hinder their learning, how students are organizing their knowledge. A good part of learning principle is to think about the schema that they have, how they organize their knowledge. The third one here is motivation. And certainly in an online world, motivation changes. The way that we motivate has a little bit of a different twist. How you integrate all of the skills the students need to master, the reading, the writing, the speaking, the vocabulary, all of these things. The feedback, how are you going to give it? The climate. Here you're looking at the students' kind of social and emotional and intellectual climate that impacts learning. And the clip I showed you where the 3 kids and the mother were all at the table, that climate was a little problematic. And some of the children weren't getting along. And the last one is the metacognitive, how students are learning, monitoring their learning. So course design and student principles, these are universal. So let's look here at some online course considerations. And these are design considerations. And again, they transfer from face-to-face to online. So the first one, of course, what are your course and your learning goals? What is the content you're going to teach? Who are your students and what are their specific needs? How do you create topics and use themes? How do you break it all into manageable steps, into the chunks that the students can absorb? Then where is the place of creativity? The creativity that you have as a teacher to engage and promote interaction? How are your students communicating with you and with each other? And then what are the techniques and the approaches that you will use as you create this new online learning world? So now I'm going to take a moment and show you my superhero. I mentioned her before. She's my online teacher training superhero, Michelle Pacansky-Brock. And she breaks down this course design, this online course design in a very simple way into 3 easy steps. So we're going to listen to part of this clip. I'll try if I can do it here in Google. We'll see if it goes. If it doesn't, please let me know. Monica, I have it also downloaded. So let's see. Maybe I'll just, I think before the download somehow kicked me out, but let's just try this. So my superhero talking about online course design in 3 steps. Oh. There we go.
It's not coming up, the video itself.
Let's see if it's going to come. Maybe it's going to buffer a little bit. And I'll put it, I downloaded it here. See if this works. Okay, tell me if you can see this. Is it coming through?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So we're good?
Yes, yes.
Okay, course design. Well, course design. Regardless of our instructional format. But when we teach online, the online we teach is the needs
Alice, can you please turn the volume up a little bit?
Oh, sure. Can you hear now?
Not yet, but we can read the subtitles.
It's all the way up. So. Okay. Well, they don't start with after all, if we don't know where we're going, altogether there are 3 steps in the online courses. 1, identify desired results. 2, teach solved
And Elise, we're having difficulties listening to the video. I can share it from my computer if it's okay with you.
Mhm.
Okay, let me see if it works better.
Okay.
As a college professor, you may be wondering what course design is right about now, or more importantly, why it's so important to you. Well, course design involves planning for your students' learning, and that's something that's always important, regardless of our instructional format. But when you teach online, the online learning environment you put together is the landscape that your students will leverage to develop the knowledge and skills you expect them to master. When an online class is effectively designed, the objectives, assessments, and activities are in alignment, creating a learner-centered environment. This empowers online learners to understand what you expect of them, rather than making learning a guessing game. In learner-centered environments, students also understand why they are completing activities, because the relationship between the activity and their learning objective is clear. So what are the steps involved with designing an online course? Well, they don't start where you might expect them to. Often, when we teach a class, we approach our subject matter by organizing it logically into sequenced topics that will be delivered to students over time, right? That is part of the online course design process, but it's actually not where we start. Instead of starting at the beginning of our course, we need to identify the knowledge and skills we expect our students to have as they complete the course. After all, if we don't know where we're going, we'll never get there. Altogether, there are 3 steps in the online course design process. 1. Identify desired results, which we've just previewed a little bit. 2. Determine acceptable evidence. And 3. Plan learning experiences and facilitation. Let's take a closer look at each step. A moment ago, we examined step 1 and identified the importance of starting with a clear understanding of the skills and knowledge you expect your students to have at the completion of the course. This is the step where content in the course would be organized into manageable chunks, referred to as learning modules or learning units. Each of those modules will include clear, measurable learning objectives that communicate to students what they're expected to be able to do by the time they complete that module. The module objectives are aligned to support the overarching course skills and knowledge or course outcomes that you've already identified. In step 1, what you're really doing is identifying what you want your students to know. In step 2, determine acceptable evidence. You move deeper into the design of each learning module. The modules already have learning objectives, which you established in step 1. Now your task is to think about how your students will demonstrate to you what they have learned. A more common word for this process is assessment. In step 2, you're identifying how you will know that they've learned. And remember, it's always important for your students to also be able to identify that they've learned as well. The third step in the course design process is plan learning experiences and facilitation. Now you begin to create the activities that students will engage and participate in. These are their learning experiences. Through these activities, they will grow, develop, and master the objectives you identified at the start of the module. In step 3, you are identifying what they will do. In summary, to design your online course, you will identify the skills and knowledge you expect your students to.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Let me stop sharing my screen. There you are.
Okay. There we go. So I just wanted to share the clip because I think that it is a very important piece in the design process. I wanted to share my screen again and make sure I can. I'm sharing my clip or my Zoom. 1 second here. I think I'm sharing my Zoom. Okay. There we go. It seems a little frozen.
You are sharing your YouTube right now.
Okay, there, I got it. Okay, it was frozen a little bit. Okay. Well, today is a little more challenging for our
Don't
technology.
worry, we are all teachers, so we totally understand.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So the idea here is to think about how we are engaging our students and conceiving of this course design process. So as we move forward here, we have 3 steps, and in these 3 steps, we're looking at the students' different pieces will we give our students? How will our students have control? How will our students create and construct meaning? How are we challenging our students? How do our students collaborate with each other? And what are sort of the consequences? How do students turn in their content and share their content? So within, you could see, I want to point out that I'm giving you a lot of information, by the way. And the information would normally be delivered, I believe, in a series of hours. And each of these different pieces would be discussed. So what I would do is to go back into Edmodo and review each of the different ideas and see the ones that really are most meaningful for you. I hope that helps as I giving you lots of information. So I want to underline that online courses that are purely online are often asynchronous. And often those courses require learners to be very self-directed and good at time management. For these courses, you have to have good communication skills because a lot of that content is delivered by reading online. And for these courses, students really depend on this idea of facilitation. So you have to have clear assignments and clear feedback. Sometimes my students will say, I didn't understand that. Can you explain it again? And I will say, absolutely, I'm doing assignment clarification. So the correspondence and the communication, this idea of asynchronous correspondence and the idea of needing to have digital literacy and netiquette are also important. Again, purely online and face-to-face, the discussion environment, if you're just writing your discussion responses, students have more time to think and research and draft. Sometimes online courses are, as I've said before, more personalized and more individualized because the teacher, whether it's synchronous or feedback. So in the synchronous, you can have a Zoom conference one-on-one With the asynchronous, you can give individualized feedback to someone's discussion post or to someone's oral comment. So that's why, in general, they are more individualized. Online courses can bring together a lot of different people. They can have multi-dimensional content. And active and frequent participation. So if you consider a big in the discussion post, who's contributed the assignments? And in online classes, because we do not rely on this purely lecture mode, which is today our mode, because really online classes are built to facilitate communication, the instructor is not on the stage in the same way. Certainly with Zoom, the instructor is in the box, but with effective Zoom, the instructor is the box with video clips, with activities. So it's important to point that out. So really the instructor is facilitating as much as teaching. And this idea of facilitating critical thinking and critical exploration often happens with themed units, but truly in online courses, there is a chance for students to really do more individualized critical thinking because they are the ones who have to carry out the tasks in a more tangible way. So now I will stop here and I will ask you about the significant differences, the impactful differences in this face-to-face and blended and online world that we are now in before I talk a little bit more about online course design. So I'm going to pause and let maybe Monica look to see if anyone is responding to this question.
Yes, of course. Just let us wait a little bit to see what they say. Before they were saying that they are using a lot of blended learning where they have a lot of synchronous and asynchronous different activities with their students, but most of them agree that they were doing a lot of blended learning. Let me see, we have some comments. People are very shy today. Please remember that you can post your questions or comments in the chat room. The question is right here. What do you think are the most significant and impactful differences here?
Maybe I can point out this center section. In all of these modes, we are always, as teachers, our role is to motivate and to encourage. We do assessments, we accommodate their needs, and we use all the resources. We select the resources. So that center mode, I think, is an interesting one to look at, even though my question is asking you about the differences.
Okay, we have some comments now. Jim Frosch and Ceci, they say that motivation is very crucial. Also, Edgar is commenting that there are opportunities that we can give students to succeed in several aspects. And yeah, motivation, you have to motivate your learners, motivation and address students with special needs. Thank you very much for your comments. Yeah, but we have a lot of comments referring to motivation. Let me see what our YouTubers are saying. Well, YouTubers are very quiet today as well.
Yeah, please remember everybody that the ones watching us on YouTube can also participate via the chat room. We'll be reading all your questions and comments.
Okay, they keep saying motivation and individualized attention. Keep students engaged and have clear objectives and organization. Those are the comments that we have. Annalise, thank you very much for asking.
So I appreciate your responses, and I would like to point out, just from my point of view, having done synchronous and asynchronous, something that I want to emphasize as teachers, we teach English, we teach language. In our face-to-face and our blended, when we're on Zoom or in a classroom, what we are doing is very much teacher-driven. It's not necessarily teacher-centered, but it's really teacher-driven. Whereas when we are in our more online world, the learning, we set it up and the students do it at their own pace. And so we have to really design the learning for the students to easily understand step by step. That doesn't mean we don't do that in face-to-face and blended, but when the world of our learning is online only, the teacher is there as the written instruction giver, but the student is really just taking what is there and understanding it on her or his own by their own selves. So I wanted to point that out, the teacher-driven and the student-centered. So now we're going to look at a few key concepts. And one thing that's interesting about these concepts, many of them, is that we've talked about before. So when you create an online course, when you are considering guiding online theory, when you're even looking at tools, so Monday's theory, Wednesday's tools, we are doing some of the same things so that you will see this overlap. So the first one here is promote community. So we talked about tools that promote community. We talked about this learning theories, and with online course creation, that should be very much at building opportunities for students to do things together, to interact. In this course creation concept here, you want students to feel safe, to get to know you and each other. You build in different opportunities for interaction, for students to share and also become experts and share their expertise. So here, this community piece is one that works really well in face-to-face courses, certainly with blended, but you might ask, how do you get it when it's completely online? And that's the part we've been talking about with the discussion and the interaction. So there's understanding your presence. There's a professor, a teacher in the middle, and you are projecting a social presence, a cognitive presence, a teaching presence, so that your students understand that it is clearly designed with each of the different learning activities having a purpose. And remember those 3 steps, you're looking at the end result. What do you want the students to master? How are you setting up the learning? How are you measuring the learning so that they're able to master it? So I'd like to share this quote: effective online instructors have a direct and important role in influencing the student experience. Instructors are often the face of the course. And so we talk about the face. Certainly they see you, but it's also your understanding of how to organize the learning, how to sequence each step that impacts the student's understanding and their mastery. Another concept here is your online persona. And we talked about this both Monday and Wednesday. This is the idea of who you are and how you are perceived on the internet. So unlike in a face-to-face class, one's persona online in this online world needs to be deliberately incorporated into the course design. And teaching style and online persona go hand in hand. So I've tried to model the idea of sharing who you are, giving students a sense that you care, that you maybe have a sense of humor, or that you have a passion about something, and you're sharing who you are as part of your persona. So when you are an online professor or teacher, you have to deliver and present this persona, and there are different ways you can do this. So you certainly can do it in writing. As I said, humor, certainly with videos, and I showed you how at the beginning of each week I have a clip. Certainly also with email and with these other tools. So sometimes you have synchronous and asynchronous meetings, discussion. Sometimes I do a PowerPoint and I add in audio, and as I've showed you before, photographs. So this idea of establishing your interaction, you are the teacher, you're the one creating this world, is really important. So again, just these persona tools, we talked a little bit about them, the welcome email, the intro bio, the discussion, the intro videos, the chats, module videos. Sometimes you have lecture PowerPoints with audio, kind of like what we're doing now, and video capture. So I use these in my synchronous classes, but they are equally, I use these in my asynchronous classes, but they are equally as effective in the synchronous courses. So we've talked about this, but I really keep coming back to it because it's important. A third one here is this idea of how the course is designed. So we already looked at the 3-step approach, and that is important. But I want to talk here about something else called universal design, because the way information is organized and presented, it certainly affects the usability of the information, but how effective. So sometimes the sequencing, the chunking, the order of practice, model, practice, assess, it really impacts how useful the course is and how much learning occurs. So a course design clip here, this is universal design. And I'm pretty sure that many of you are familiar with universal course design. I think this is something that stretches from face-to-face to blended to certainly online, but it really merits taking a look and pausing to really think about how universal course design impacts online courses, the courses that you are preparing to teach. So maybe Monica, I don't know if you want to see if you can play it. Maybe if I take it out to YouTube.
Yes. You can send it. I think it's loading. If not, you can send me the link. I'll do it from my computer. But I think
okay, I could have done that a little earlier. That might be something for us to
work for Monday. Yeah, don't worry.
So I'll send it to you. Maybe the chat, would that work?
Yes, we have
Okay,
a private chat open, so you can do it from there.
Okay, I just sent it, and so you can show it. The universal design clip.
Yes, I think this is the one. Oh, you sent it to me. Perfect. Let me just copy paste it. Okay, let's see. I think this is the one. Just let me share my screen here.
This teacher needs to meet a curriculum goal, and she's got a very diverse group of students. And so does this teacher. And this one. Most do. In fact, research shows that the way people learn is as unique as their fingerprints. What does this mean for teachers of today? Classrooms are highly diverse, and curriculum needs to be designed from the start to meet this diversity. Universal design for learning is an approach to curriculum that minimizes barriers and maximizes learning for all students. Whoa, that's a fancy term. Universal design for learning. Let's unpack it a bit. Let's think about the word universal. By universal, we mean curriculum that can be used and understood by everyone. Each learner in a classroom brings her own background, strengths, needs, and interests. Curriculum should provide genuine learning opportunities for each and every student. Now let's think about the word learning. Learning is not one thing. Neuroscience tells us that our brains have 3 broad networks. One for recognition, the what of learning, one for skills and strategies, the how of learning, and one for caring and prioritizing, the why of learning. Students need to gain knowledge, skills, and enthusiasm for learning, and a curriculum needs to help them do all three. But every learner is unique, and one size does not fit all. So how do we make a curriculum that challenges and engages diverse learners? This is where the word design comes in. A universally designed building is planned to be flexible and to accommodate all kinds of users, with and without disabilities. It turns out that if you design for those in the margins, your building works better for everyone. Curb cuts and ramps are used by people in wheelchairs, people with strollers, and people on bikes. Captioning on TV serves people who are deaf, people learning English, people in gyms, and spouses who get to sleep at different times. UDL takes this idea and applies it to the design of flexible curriculum. UDL goes beyond access because we need to build in support and challenge. So how do we use the UDL framework to make learning goals, methods, materials, and assessments that work for everyone? First, ask yourself, what is my goal? What do I want my students to know, do, and care about? Then ask, what barriers in the classroom might interfere with my diverse students reaching these goals? To eliminate the barriers, use the 3 UDL principles to create flexible paths to learning so that each student can progress. Number 1, provide multiple means of representation. Present content and information in multiple media and provide varied supports. Use graphics and animation, highlight the critical features, activate background knowledge, and support vocabulary so that students can acquire the knowledge being taught. Number 2, provide multiple means of action and expression. Give students plenty of options for expressing what they know and provide models, feedback, and supports for their different levels of proficiency. Number 3, provide multiple means of engagement. What fires up one student won't fire up another. Give students choices to fuel their interest and autonomy. Help them risk mistakes and learn from them. If they love learning, they will persist through challenges. And remember, always keep in mind the learning goal. Get rid of barriers caused by the curriculum and keep the challenge where it belongs. And that's it. Okay, quick recap. Show the information in different ways, allow your students to approach learning tasks and demonstrate what they know in different ways, and offer options that engage students and keep their interest. Universal design for learning equals learning opportunities for all. For more information on UDL, go to www.cast.org.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, now Annalise. Annalise, are you there? I don't know if she's there. Oh, perfect.
I'm here. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to take a moment before I move forward, and I want to ask you, why was I showing you a clip about universal design for learning? How does this relate to online teaching? And hopefully, as you were watching, you were seeing the connection. I'm thinking about your context, where you have synchronous and asynchronous, students with phones, students with iPads, students without connection. There are a lot of variability. So with universal design for learning, you are trying to anticipate all of the different needs and the different contexts of your students. And as teachers of English and teachers of language, you can see that providing a variety of methods, a variety of activities, a variety of way for the students to master the content will benefit your students. And that's one of the principles of universal design for learning. So I wanted to take a moment here and say, I've heard from some of you that students struggle with technology. So with universal design for learning, you would think, okay, that's a barrier. How can I address it? So as you design your courses and you create modules for your students to master the content, you might consider, how can I offer something for students who don't always have a reliable internet connection? How could I also offer another opportunity for students who can access? And by providing different activities, different opportunities,
Okay, now before Annalise comes back, you can start commenting about the video that we just saw. And the question is, how can you implement and design courses for everyone in these online classes? Oh, she's back. Perfect. You're back, Annalise. You can continue.
So I have another clip here, but I'm not going to show it. This is a variation. It's called Universal Experience Design. And I can just kind of give you a little sample here. It's the same idea, but it expands it even more. And it connects to some of the information I've been talking to you about course design. This idea of beginning with the users in mind. Who are the students? What are the goals? And then how do they connect to the course? So this idea of unboxing the course, embracing, onboarding. So the students come in to the environment, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, and they start to feel some connection. And there's an intentional way of doing that. It has a lot to do with community and persona. The next one here with copy of text. This one has a connection to the next principle, which is how you present things. How accessible are they for everyone to see and everyone to read? This one is important about being simple. So I think that being simple can have different meanings in different contexts, but truly it means not to overload. I would say that presentations like this are maybe not so simple. They're a lot of overload, but if the presentation like this were available for students over a week, and they could go in and they could watch a clip and write about it, and look at a few slides and reflect about it, and finish everything and make a discussion post. The simple there is also about the amount. So clear and linear, that is that the steps are very succinct, soliciting feedback. For me, I'm a college professor. So my feedback is continuous. At the end of each week, at the end of each module, I ask for students to give me feedback. Sometimes it's anonymous and sometimes it's not. But I want to constantly hear from them. What did you learn? What did you not learn? What worked well? What didn't work well? This idea of being consistent, that might be a little bit surprising. But with our online world, having a consistency can help our students. So in an asynchronous class, having a consistent way to start class. You start with a song, then you start with a welcome, then you start with an icebreaker, and then you keep going so that the consistency helps the students build a routine. With an asynchronous class, my consistency, I showed you on Tuesday, I always have an overview of the module that they can open and read. Then I have a clip, and then I build my module with titles and subtitles so that they can see clearly where is a clip.
Sorry, we are experiencing some technical problems, so you can keep making your contributions.
Personally, I really like this approach. I think it's very complete and it's logical. If you think that we have to actually keep pace and have every class going the same, that makes a lot of sense. Some people are saying here that universal design thinking is very important for everyone. And also now that we are giving classes in public schools, designing it for everyone is important since not everyone have the same technology. um, Giving and receiving feedback will help us improve. Some of my teachers are here, and if you know, I am a true believer that feedback is everything. You have to give feedback to your students, but also your students need to give feedback to you and the administration and everything. Annalise is back, yay. Annalise, give me a second because you're muted. Let me see how can I, there you are.
I was just saying, I checked my internet connection and it's strong, so I wasn't sure why I was getting muted. No.
Don't worry. I think it's because, you know, Murphy's Law, whenever you need the internet to work perfectly, it does not. But don't worry, we totally understand.
Okay.
We have lots of contributions here.
Okay, can I hear some?
Sure, yeah. It says, because in online learning, we have to consider all of our students' needs and tailor our content and design to those needs, providing multimodal opportunities to access knowledge. It's fundamental to notice the need of each student to help them. We can use modules, written activities for students who do not have internet as teachers. It is our duty. I have students living in different contexts. They live with grandparents. Some of them don't have internet connection, laptop or cell phones. So others are having health issues caused by COVID-19. I record my lessons for the ones that I can't connect in my synchronous sessions. Some are using WhatsApp to be connected with me. They send so I send the audios, videos, and material for my students. Messages have no connection. The effort is to put tasks that they feel are as comfortable to assure their learning process. In my case, I apply modules. And the last one, be simple, is so important.
Yeah, thank you. Those are really good comments. I appreciate the ideas that you're sharing. I understand the context is so challenging, and we as teachers, I think we have good hearts. That's why we're teachers and we care. So the flexibility that we show to help and accommodate our students is so important. I'm not going to go over all these 10 tips. I think some of them we've talked about a lot, but I did want to just say that in our context here, we do also have some challenges. And one of the ways that teachers have addressed those challenges, that they know that some students have a hard time with internet, and they've actually prepared packets. And so students, parents come by the school and the packets are available. There's a table and someone with a mask and gloves, and they drive with their car, they walk and they pick up the packets. So I do want to say that I can imagine that some students who cannot really access in a reliable way would also benefit from those paper packets. So I just want to add that. I don't want to neglect these last really important pieces of course design. And this one, I wanted to talk about visual design and the idea that technology is this new form of pedagogy. So the course site, how it is presented, that is another piece now of technology. So just the idea of designing for the user, how do things look for the student, having enough white space. Sometimes I don't, by the way. I like to put a lot of things in, but the white space, it does help the brain process the text. So you have to think about emphasizing key concepts, because it really does help understand. It helps with the comprehension and the cognitive overload. We talked about simplicity, not having things too cluttered. This is a design consideration from people who are marketing. You an example of we are not marketers, we are not designers. These are some simple principles to keep in mind. So
Annalise, excuse us, can you please repeat that part where you mentioned that we are not marketers?
okay, so I was showing that idea that we aren't marketers, but we do benefit from considering some of these design principles for our learners. So my question is now, what are some aspects of course design that we've talked about today that are new or innovative? What are some of your takeaways? And we aren't done. So I'm pausing because I want to hear from you, but I do have some more things to share. But I really want to stop and hear if there's anything in particular that stands out. Maybe a couple people can comment and we can keep going.
Okay, let's check. Okay, I will repeat the question. Which aspects of online course design are new or innovative for you? What are your takeaways from today? It says, I love the idea of us being marketers in regards on how we present our courses. Thank you, Ezequiel Hernandez. That was a very good comment. It says, I do a lot of feedback by sending students a summary of what they had on the online classes. Juan Carlos, what comments do you have in the YouTube channel?
Okay, let me see. Somebody's typing. Well, somebody said, thank you for all the new knowledge. I like to be positive most of the time. I told my parents that taking advantage of this situation, both students and parents practice the language. Our biggest mistake is to create a class to accomplish the school system and not for our students' needs.
Okay, thank you very much. Lilibet here says that online course design means a lot to gather students' attention. Luz comments that we have to be very concrete and use simple but effective language when using our classes. And I totally agree with these, that you have to be genuine, Edilberto says. And there's one more comment here. Let me read it to you. That we have to incorporate strategies for learners in the margins and supporting the needs for all of them. That's very true.
Okay, I got
Thank
something
you very
here.
much. Perfect.
We should use a variety of resources to integrate in our class. Okay, it says it's an interesting tool to construct classes. I think clarity and be precise is really important, and go to the target. That's it on my end.
Well, here we said that we have to be more flexible by Soledad, and Mene Navarro says that there are new deals with a variety of apps or tools to make the new task motivating and challenging for students. That's true.
Somebody here is stressing empathy.
Yeah. Very important.
Yes, thank you very much, Annalise. That's everything here.
Thank you for your sharing. We're going to continue on. I still have a few more things I want to show you that I think are really important. This particular page here, it looks very simple. This idea that you have a quality check, but these are important. So I linked 2 pages and I will show you the pages. So when you click on this first page, can you see it?
Yes.
So this is the University of Minnesota. It's a elements are going to the quality checklist. So this is a tool to make sure that you have high quality. So you can check about engagement, the readings, the reflections, the visuals, the hands-on. You can check about communication. And here is a list of the things to consider. Now, I understand this is a university course, but there are many elements here that you can check as you create. Another one, you're checking your assessment. Do you have multiple methods? Do you give feedback? The design, do you have consistency in your design and your placement of content? Is it accessible? And then the course improvement. For me as a teacher, I want to know how satisfied my students are, and they review what I teach, and then I review, because I take their learning personally. If they are not succeeding, I have to go back and revisit. So I wanted to show you this quality checklist. I have another one here. This one is a community college, and I tried to circle this. The best practice designs that contribute to student success. So this is a long list with many criteria that you can check, and these are best practices. So this list shows your overview, and then it goes down to your instructional material, and then it goes down to your engagement. So I'm not going to go through each of these pieces that I highlighted, but this is a very helpful tool. And this tool, when I've taken courses on assessment in online environments, we have spent weeks with a tool like this, dissecting each part of our courses to see, do we meet the criteria? So I encourage you to look at these lists, and then I would actually say, review them and modify them for your teaching environment. You don't need all of these things, but you will probably benefit from taking the key concepts from each one and then applying it to your environment. So that's my quality checklist. The links are here. Very, very important in design. It's kind of backwards design for the teacher. So here, just in general, in an online course, your ability to effectively communicate, manage your technology, deliver and assess your content, it's so important, because this is the world of the course. This is the online world. So I'm going to leave you with a big picture here. The big picture, 7 keys to increase student success in online courses. How are you designing your curriculum? How are you structuring your course? How are you assessing? What are you doing for motivation and engagement? How are you addressing learning styles? Certainly the length of all of the materials you're presenting, and the user experience. And the interesting thing about this is that the same 7 keys, they apply to blended and face-to-face classes, except maybe the technology. So I want to ask if you have any questions, but I want to show you a couple of resources, and then we'll come back to this slide. So I have some free bonus resources. I told you each time I would bring you some more. So these are resources that are particularly good for, I would say, elementary and middle students. So this, if you click, you go to free animal cams. These are zoos. These are free national park visits and free museum visits. So these are in the US, but you can also find these sorts of free materials that are designed for online learning in your context, in Panama, in Central America. You don't have to just use the American ones. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that I'm going to talk more about this. This is something that I am an ardent supporter of. And these are online educational resources. These are open resources, books that you can have for teachers and for students, lessons. More about have left that you can ask. We still have a few minutes, and then my final I got kicked out again. I was going to show you this. Muted? I'm not muted.
You're not. We can hear
Okay.
you.
So this was something fun I did. I like to sometimes use these little backgrounds. This is supposed to be me with my dog. And I just want to end with that. But I'll come back to the question. Any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer. And if I can't answer them now, or you haven't really thought of them yet, you want to review things, that's where the Edmodo comes in. It's a lovely place to post questions. I've posted a few discussion items, so I will also post questions about online course design. But we have a few minutes. If you want to ask something now, I'm happy to answer.
Okay. We don't have answers here. We don't have, sorry, questions. Well, Ixa says that it has been very challenging for her to teach vocabulary during the synchronous hours. And she wants her kids to learn the concept of the words instead of just giving them a bunch of words that don't mean anything to them. Well, people are asking about the Moto account. We will give that information in a second. If this one is a good one. Dimas is asking if your school doesn't have a solid platform loaded with all the course content, is it highly probable that you will end up searching for good class material online for hours? Yes, this is true. Do you have any comments on Dimas before I continue?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. That's why I wanted to show you these resources. Actually, they're not just books, they are whole lessons. And you can go in and search keywords and find lessons already made. So some people at the college level and beyond, they don't use a textbook. They will use these resources. I have a class that I no longer use a textbook for. I've matched resources here with what I'm teaching. So yes, you have to spend some time, but ultimately, if you find something that works, I save it and I will find a way to reuse it. If we're back face to face and you have something that works well, you can also use it. So I don't think you ever really waste time if you find things that are effective. And I wanted to say one more thing about vocabulary. I have a sample little vocabulary lesson and in the assessment Friday, the 7th of August, to show you how to present and then assess in an innovative way. So I'm thinking about ways to show you answers to your questions that may not happen right now, but they may happen in the next workshop, or even with resources that I put on Edmodo. Does that help?
Yes, thank you. Well, we have more questions here. Okay. Ezequiel asks, what level do you teach currently and what tools have been proven successfully to you so far as far of online design course?
Yeah, so I've taken a lot of classes, a lot of professional development classes, and I teach now. I used to teach in Blackboard. I now teach in Canvas. I am a college professor, so I do teach students in their first and their second year of college. And I teach all different levels, and I frequently focus on reading and writing courses. And I also teach something called first year experience for college students who come in their very first semester. And in those courses, there's a lot of different content modules that we developed and that we teach. So if you wanted to Google first year experience, you'll see what that is.
Okay, somebody's asking about the, sorry, Monica, go ahead, please.
No, don't worry, go ahead. YouTubers are strong now.
Somebody's yeah, somebody here is asking about the role of virtual platforms to develop speaking skills. how good are they? Annalisa, are you here with us?
I think it somehow froze for a moment, so.
Yeah, as I said, somebody was asking about the role of virtual platforms to develop speaking skills.
So in the online world, this idea of speaking and listening has a lot of exciting tools right now. And some of them you have to pay for, some of them are free. But ultimately, I think the Zoom is one of the most effective ways to blend your classroom. So the listening can all happen with the clips and with the audiobooks, but in the class with the Zoom, I highly recommend the Zoom chat rooms. I think they're very effective. Another thing is project-based learning where students have to connect with each other and grapple with whatever content you are focused on. Again, my method is theme-based. So the skills are imparted with that theme. So they're practicing with the theme. Does that help?
Yes, thank you very much, Annalise.
Thank you so much.
Here, Maria Navarro says that students can work vocabulary by sharing a conception map or designing a diagram using reading, writing, and speaking. That is to answer the previous question. So thank you very much. Let's see if we have more comments. They say that the breakout rooms help a lot. Personally, I teach English and I use Zoom for my classes, and I couldn't do it without the breakout rooms. So yeah, they are fantastic.
They mentioned the breakout rooms here before too. They say that it's a great channel for students to interact.
Yes, that's true. Okay, we are receiving the last questions. Let's see.
Okay, there's one here. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, how can we encourage our students to actively interact into the virtual class?
That's the perfect last question, because that question leads me to invite you to come to the workshop on Monday about motivation. Very good last question, Juan Carlos.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Annalise. We don't have any, oh, sorry, Juan Carlos, do you have one more?
No, I'm fine. I don't know if you have another one.
Good.
Sorry.
I am just going to tell you that you're still receiving lots of love from here and a lot of thank you very much for this workshop. It's been amazing. And for the ones that are here with us, this is not over yet. Annalise is still going to be with us on Monday. So let me share this screen fast so you can see what the organization of next week looks like. But we have some live sessions next week, so you can keep being posted. We have one on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Wow, Annalise, you're very, very loved here. You have a lot of thank yous and hugs and the comment part.
Thank you.
Well, do not leave us yet. We're going to take our picture. So as Annalise wraps it up, you can start turning your cameras on so we can take the last picture. Annalise, I don't know if you have more.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, good. Let's take the, I'm going to take a picture. So let's see, frame number 1, smile. Okay, frame number 1, it's gone. Let me send it to Juan Carlos. We can post it in the embassy's pages. Okay, I have frame 1. I'm going to take frame number 2. Okay, please smile. Excellent. Thank you very much for the people who turn on the cameras. We have some good pictures here. And if you are watching us in our YouTube, you can see that there's a lot of people here too. So thank you very much for joining us. I am going to pass it on to Juan Carlos.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you, Annalise, for the valuable training you're providing. And we'd like to invite everybody to keep watching us, yeah, next week. Plus, just a reminder that all these videos are going to be posted on the U.S. Embassy, the U.S. Embassy's web YouTube channel. In addition, we'd like to encourage everybody to join the virtual classroom on Edmodo. We have sent some guidelines on how to do that via the chat room, but if you still have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. I also posted our contact info in the chat room. So on behalf of the U.S. Embassy, thank you so much for this great opportunity, and thank you for your participation.
Thank you very much, everyone. Let me just post once again our organization for next week, so you can just print screen it, copy paste it, or take a picture, because we want everyone to be here next week as well. Thank you very much for participating, and please share this with your colleagues and other teachers. Sharing is caring. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming.
Actually, let me do something. I think I can share the landing page so you can share it with all your colleagues.
Okay.
Perfect. Let me pull it out. Just 1 second, or more than a second, actually. Okay, I got it here. Okay, let me go to Zoom. I'm gonna post it on both Zoom and YouTube.
Did you send it to the chat?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm doing
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Oh, good. So let me just share the screen.
Yeah, I sent it to the chat room. And I'm gonna do the same on YouTube. There you go, got a landing page. So feel free to share with your colleagues, students, yeah, to be teachers.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Juan Carlos. Okay, people are saying that you logged in Modo and you cannot see the content. We're going to upload it to folders. Just give us a second, because we were uploading it in the comments and those comments were buried because there's a lot of comments from everyone. So what we're going to do is, well, we're going to put everything in folders. Just give us today, and tomorrow you can find it, okay? Don't worry about that. We are going to upload everything, and also the links to the YouTube channel. In case this is your first time here, just keep in mind that they are saved and you can enjoy Annalisa's conferences from Monday and Wednesday. You can go there and check them out. We are still receiving some comments. Thank you very much. You're welcome, everyone. We'll have a nice weekend. I am going to close now the session and see you everyone on Monday. We'll see you in Edmodo during the weekend and see you everyone on Monday, okay? Have an excellent weekend. Enjoy your families and your free time.
Bye.